here for today. A lot of delay, let's be honest, but let's just say at least we have a match for you guys. It has gotten started, and hopefully, we at the very least have a good best of the three here, and what possibly could be followed up by a best of one. I'll get into that in just a second. But as you can see, we got, of course, Reason Gaming here on the Hellborn side to start things off. They're going up against The Last of Us here. Playoff positioning on the line. A chance to get to the playoffs, first things first. And then from there on out, playoff positioning as well, in the case of Reason Gaming at least. So definitely quite a bit on the line. And again, ultimately competing for that $8,000 prize pool. So with that said, before I get too much into all that, obviously going to be joined by Mini Maggot here as my co-caster. We made it. Welcome.
Finally made it. Yeah, it's all good. But better late than never. And a game that I'm looking forward to, actually. We've obviously had a few, we've had a break for like about a week now. So I'm just glad we're getting back into some HON. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the game.
Yeah, we've had a break, to say the least. Yeah, again, so just to clarify, I did talk about it on the earlier stream. I know it's now coming back. Maybe we do have some new viewers. So, again, to clarify real quickly, guys, first things first, a lot of matches got canceled. Yes, there was a Fuzi situation, obviously, of BMG. Unfortunately, passed away last weekend. We got that tragic news. Because of that, understandably, all the matches that weekend were canceled in the end after we got that news. Now, this was the only match that was rescheduled to be played this weekend. This being a very important match, thus the reschedule. And again, what is on the line here? You got Reason versus The Last of Us. These two teams are competing to to go into the playoffs. Now, The Last of Us, they need to win this series 2-0 if they want any chance. That's what a simple that's a simple way to look at this. The Last of Us needs to win 2-0 in order to advance on to the playoffs. Well, and by that I mean in order to advance on to a tiebreaker match, which will be a best out of one after this, if that is the case, and then they need to win that. The winner of that will then advance out of the playoffs. So that's what needs to happen for them. Every other scenario is in Reason's favor. They will go to the playoffs, and then there's also a chance if they go 2-0 here, they would actually get the third-place seed instead of the fourth-place seed. So that's kind of just a quick overview. In the end, again, at the very least, there's definitely some good on the line. So looking forward to what should be a good matchup here when it's all said and done. So that's the ultimate point I think we can take from that breakdown there. So with that said, we are already advancing on to the draft, so Mini Maggot, I'll let you kind of analyze what's going on here. What do you think about the draft so far?
Yeah, well, first off, we're playing on the previous patch, obviously, because the games were rescheduled,
Yes.
which were meant to be played last week, but obviously we're playing today, but the patch has happened, so we have to play the patch before. So that's why normally we're seeing similar picks, and why we're not seeing like heroes like Cthulhu or Silhouette picked up. But other than that, it looks somewhat of a similar sort of draft and sort of similar lineup what we'd normally see in the previous patch. Maybe the initial bans out on Electrician, probably giving credit to Zane's Electrician, very, very strong, particularly in this sort of early roam sort of meta game that we're having nowadays. But other than that, quite sort of quite normal drafts, to be honest. We do see the War Beast picked up for what you got as well. He's played the drafter now, so definitely ensures his War Beast playing that hero.
Yeah. It is kind of interesting here. For one, the Reason Gaming, they are running the Solstice. Now, not usually a team that likes to go to that jungle route. They usually are more known for the double support, of course. But again, St. Rox has shown that he can play that Solstice and play it fairly well. So, as far as the other side, again, The Last of Us, they are using Diglett, you may notice, is not here for them, who maybe usually would be the drafter, but as you just pointed out, what you got in place as being the drafter instead. So, yeah, that's what kind of stands out to me, though, running the jungle option here with that Solstice final pick. They did it after the War Beast, too, so I kind of wonder if that was maybe to contest, almost, get an aggressive jungler themselves to go up against it.
I wouldn't really suggest that because Solstice isn't the strongest of aggressive junglers. I mean, they've got Ophelia and Parasite on the board, probably the two strongest aggressive junglers if you want to go aggressive. But they picked up the Solstice here, which I'd assume they'd be going just the safe jungle. But obviously Solstice is a great ganker because obviously in the previous patch, his blinding dash or his charge or his Q has like max range still. So he can gank very, very effectively, like away from fog and stuff. So that's why we normally see him up here. And reasons like why one of those teams that really do like to get aggressive or get an early lead and sort of carry them into the late game. So Solstice is kind of a normal pickup. We do see Centrals play it quite a few times as well. So no surprise here again.
Yeah. Yeah, that is again. I really want to reiterate that we are playing on the previous patch, and that is in fact, unfortunately, why we did have the delay here today with postponing this match even further. But the issue obviously got figured out in the end. We are playing here, but this is on patch 3.4.8. Again, the previous patch to 3.5. So like you're saying, there are a lot of changes that happen, but you guys got to keep that in mind. This is still the previous patch, and for good reason. It would be kind of silly to go into the final weekend where the patch completely changes. But it's just unfortunate that maybe the method wasn't the most straightforward and effective. But what's done is done, and obviously we are getting things going here. But Keeper of the Forest is actually going to be picked up here by Recent Gaming. That's interesting because obviously, they already have the Solstice. Laning Keeper is what you're thinking here?
Yeah, it would be suicide. I think Zane actually is another sort of Keeper of the Forest player that gets a lot of credit for. I've seen him do absolutely amazing in the 1v1 sort of setup. And that's with the nerfs on the Keeper of the Forest. I mean, we've seen Keeper get quite a few nerfs, particularly to his laning phase, yet Zane still ends up getting incredibly good laning phase out of him. But I mean, the hero I think is still good, but I think it's more because it's something that Zane likes to play. I mean, we see the Electrician ban, I see the Pharaoh ban. There's quite a lot of bans sort of particularly aimed at Zane, and there's not a lot of heroes that he sort of plays. Not sort of trying to insult him and say that he can't play other heroes. I just think putting him on like a comfort hero is something better than sort of giving like a different hero.
Yeah, everyone has their strong suit, of course, so no reason suggesting that. But also you could be great against the War Beast and his ulti form if he's locked down by the root. Obviously, the max speed doesn't matter when you're kept in place by that root. So maybe some logic there. But Corrupted Disciple, the final pick, and that's how The Last of Us is going to finish off their lineup over there with the rally just before that. So, you a fan of the CD final pick?
Yeah, and I think City do quite well against Keeper of the Forest because, I mean, obviously you can just link them up and sort of almost harass them out of the lane in that sense. But as we see the lanes here, it's going to be quite standard lanes, really. It's going to be like a dual mid for both teams and then just a Suicide and Solo and then the jungle in itself. But I think with the way they're laning up, I think Reason are going to probably have the advantage because I think their laning sort of situations should be favourable in comparisons to The Last of Us. So, but obviously we'll have to see in the game, see how it rounds out in the end.
That we will. Bloodhunter final pick over here on the Hellborn side. And yeah, giving it Imba Boy. This is not that radical of a pick by any means, mainly because it is Imba Boy. He does have some history of playing the hero, no doubt. But at the same time, not your everyday carry, is safe to say when it comes down to it. So you think Bloodhunter makes a lot of sense here.
Yeah, and it works so well. I mean, this hero is super underrated. I actually love this hero. I mean, we normally see it in like 1500 TMM, but its laning phase is almost unparalleled. And against the bubbles, like he should crush that lane completely. And when he gets level 6, almost a guaranteed kill with the gates coming from Solstice. I mean, you probably even be able to gank bubbles like before level 6 as well because of the silence. I mean, bubbles probably one of those heroes that are very hard to sort of gank, but with the silence coming out from Bloodhunter and the stun coming out from Solstice, I mean, it should be kind of easy gank actually.
Yeah.
So I do actually like the Bloodhunter pick here. Just the only problem is if it gets into the late game, not the strongest of carries compared to any conventional carries. But with Reason's sort of playstyle, which is to win early, get some kind of early lead, I think Bloodhunter is like the perfect pickup for them.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Definitely has that snowball potential for sure, and of course that feast buff that happened to him a while back, now allowing him to activate on a creep to instantly kill and also get the buff as a result. What already was a very strong 1v1 laner especially just got even that much stronger. And also the cool thing with that, of course, is the fact that he can go into the jungle and quickly get one of those creep kills if it calls for it. But he does have the Solstice, obviously. Going to be keeping that in mind. You see right here, the Hellhounds, they're going to sneak past, not really sneak past, but they just run past more so the Bloodhunter, and ultimately going to get the pull off, at least with the one Hellhound. The other one did get eaten, actually. Speaking of that feast ability from Bloodhunter. But both sides have those minions, of course, in the Suicide lane, and going to, or at least in the Legion's case, obviously he's in the jungle, but sending them to the Suicide lane, trying to help a little bit delay that creep push, but they are going to despawn right there. So, yeah, what you got, though, playing his signature war base, I think it's safe to say, a player, he's not the most recognizable player by any means, but at the same time, for those that we do know him, and obviously being part of The Last of Us for a while now, and this, like I said, is his signature hero. We've said it many times before, obviously he's a very good war beast player, argue that he's one of the best up there in terms of playing this hero, so very comfort factor for them, you could say, but... So now we got the lanes kind of taking place here. You got Magnus Aluna versus the Bubbles. Going to be happening mid, actually.
Yeah, I honestly thought they was going to run the Rally Rhapsody mid because at the way they're sort of laning it, they're Last of Us sort of set up to lose two lanes. Top is going to lose against the Rally Bloodhunter, and now they're going to lose mid as well because there's a centre 1v2. And at the same time, they've rotated Rhapsody down here to sort of try and box out the keeper, but at the same time, he can just pull the lane. He's going to get almost the same farm as if he was 1v1 against his Corrupted Disciple anyway. So I really don't like the Last of Us lanes. Maybe they're just afraid to sort of go dual mid against Reason Gaming because in the sense that could almost guarantee them the early loss if they foul mid. So sending it 1v2 is the more safer play, but at the same time, if you're scared to lose a lane, then you almost already lost it. So in that sense, I'm not really too fond of how Last of Us are lane. I mean, it's already a minute and a half, and they're like already up by quite a bit. 500 XP, 300 gold already, and that's just because of how they've laned it in a sense. So.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you do see it, no doubt. Recent Gaming having the slight advantage here, but and it's all said and done again. We are still very early on, obviously, only 2 minutes in, so can't look too much into that. But yeah, most certainly I do agree with you. It definitely caught me off guard, as it did you. It sounded like with the initial laning decision, but in the end, that is the case. Warbeast, he does pick up the Invis rune and actually going to head back into the jungle. So by no means don't expect a level 1 Warbeast to be setting up a gank with that, but gonna just take it away, if anything, from another that could have made more use of it, say, for the other team, of course. How is good old Solstice doing as far as his start here? Obviously, will be daytime until the 7.5-minute mark, and especially in the daytime. What do you? I don't know how much Solstice experience you personally have, but do you like farming more as a Solstice in daytime or nighttime? Do you think either one's more effective? Or
well, definitely farming in the daytime is a lot better because of the AoE you get from the Solar Slash, and then that ganking is a lot better at nighttime. But it's not like you can't gank if it's daytime or you can't farm if it's nighttime, that kind of deal. But in the same time, it's more preference to farm in the daytime and more preference to farm in the nighttime. But the way that Zaintrox has sort of played this, I've been watching him. Mid lane actually, Bubbles might be in trouble.
Yeah, no, he's got that shell surf, so obviously going to be able to escape, but definitely taking some good damage right there.
But yeah, I've been watching Zaintrox on the Solstice, and the way he sort of spec'd it is a little bit questionable in my opinion. I mean, I don't have the most Solstice experience, but I mean, he's been farming all this time, and he needs to be spec'ing on the Illuminate. You farm a lot faster if you get 1 point in it, and he's got a point in it now. But I mean, there's no need to put a point at level 3 on his stun if he's not going to be using it. He should have maybe used the Illuminate level 3 instead of level 4. But not the biggest of problems. But at the same time, trying to be as most efficient as possible.
Yeah, maybe makes sense, as you said. The dashing strikes. It's one of those those abilities. It's like almost like a well, maybe not like a Legionnaire, but in the sense that am I going to be going for a gank? Will that opportunity come up? If I have my charge, then I could actually be very useful, and if I don't, then not nearly as much. So it kind of is that, I guess, for like a Legionnaire taunt, you could say, kind of that similar aspect. But yeah, he does get it, as you said, not the hugest deal, but something worth noting for sure. Does have that now though, and again, going to keep an eye on him, just like Warbeast farm as well. But I mean, so far, not a whole lot of action. Obviously, there was that middle lane Bloodlust attempt, but again, Bubbles a little too escape-worthy there, and gets out with the Shell Surf, of course. Going to use that aggressively, but...
Yeah, and this is the reason why there won't be a lot of action early on, because this is the way how Last of Us sort of laned it. They've dodged mid, so like they can't get the action from it, and that's the reason why they can't lose too fast, because giving away kills and all. But at the same time, they are slowly bottom lane.
Yeah, is this going to be the Bloodlust kill? That Corrupted Disciple, the conduit up to 7 charges, and yes, it is. Misery actually playing the Corrupted Disciple. It's been a while since we've seen that name, to be honest. But sure enough, playing the Corrupted. And picks up that Bloodlust kill. So, I mean, that was just good play on their part in terms of getting the gank on a keeper, and obviously doing it when he was very, very low on mana. So could not effectively Nature's Veil to get away right there.
Yeah, it's a good gank, but I think they didn't have dust, did they, though?
No.
So, okay, so there's maybe a little bit overestimation coming out from Zane, and an unlikely misplay, honestly, coming out from Zane. I think Keeper is one of his most played heroes in terms of competitive scene, honestly. But at the same time, that you see Solstice and Bloodhunter pushing top because Rally is completely boxed out. You see how Imberboy on this Bloodhunter completely destroyed Rally, and this is what I expected to happen. Bloodhunter absolutely dominate in the lane against almost any hero, and Rally's no exception here. So. Yeah,
you see that top lane. This tower is going to be taking some good damage for sure, and could very likely be a tower push. You got Rally all the way back to the secondary tower, even waiting for the next creep wave to be able to even remotely attempt to do anything. But no doubt, this is at least going to be put in deny range. It's just a matter of will they successfully be able to kill it. And Rally has the potential with that compel But no, he's not even he's not going to take that risk. There is the
It's
hemorrhage
because
up, yeah.
yeah, and at the same time, there's no way that the Legion side can really rotate in to help. I mean, like Bubbles, the only person who can maybe rotate in is maybe the Bubble to try and slow down the push. But Warbeast is farming, so is Corrupted and Rhapsody, so there's no way they could rotate down. I mean, you could even perhaps see them maybe pushing through a tier 2 at the same time, but in the end they don't want to waste too much time, so you just see Solstice going back into the jungle. But they actually Keeper gonna maybe in trouble now, just gets dusted, but nothing in the end. But I mean, the way that reason of sort of lane this is the reason why they're so far ahead. Yeah, they gave away a kill on Keeper the Forest down bottom, but at the same time it's just not the biggest of deals. They're almost crashing the lanes already at the moment, just 6 minutes in.
Yeah, and Boy, again, 400 gold per minute, obviously up there with actually Corrupted Disciple, so you got to give credit to, again, Misery there, playing that Corrupted Disciple. Obviously the Bloodlust kill definitely helps in his case, but competing with that creep farm at the same time, thus up there with him. But then you also got Magnus, who's at 345, and then even the Solstice not doing too shabby. So the gold per minute chart is safe to say well in favor of Recent Gaming at about 6.5 minutes in. And again, it's very important, usually maybe not as important to pay attention to the night and daytime. You know, there are some significant factors, obviously with vision and whatnot, but whenever you have a Solstice in the game, then that timer gets that much more apparent as those 7.5 minutes marks hit. Because, you know, where I'm getting at, obviously, you got the nighttime coming up, is that if you're the opposition here, I mean, he's doing decent with his farm, are you actually, like, looking at that timer and being like, okay, we need to be worried about him now, or...
Yeah, no, I'm being like definitely. I mean, when it gets around 7.5 minutes, I'd definitely like to see them put some kind of lane ward, maybe mid or top or even bottom, because Solstice could almost gank any one of those lanes with with the nighttime because of his ultimate doing a lot more in terms of the disorientation and the fear factor, as well as just him being able to maybe gank more effectively because of the reduction in vision. So it's definitely a fact. I mean, it's not the biggest of issues, but at the same time, it's more dangerous and more risky when it comes to the nighttime.
Mm-hmm. You see right here, looks like just a quick pause here to get something figured out, but as soon as the ready is given out by the Legion team, there we go. Should be good to resume things, and there we go in itself with the countdown. So, again, to clarify for today, guys, this match was supposed to be the earlier match. It did get postponed, some technical issues. So postponed this time. So this will be the only match played here as far as a best of 3 is concerned. But like I was saying, if tUS goes 2-0, then we will have a best of 1 after to get the tiebreaker. But yeah, bottom lane, here comes Bloodhunter. He has that hemorrhage, not able to get off just yet. Nice staccato stun from Rhapsody. That will protect him initially, but now out comes a hemorrhage. And you see Bloodhunter's just going to sit his ground. Corrupted Disciple cannot do much about it. He just has to watch his teammate fall. Boy does get credit for the kill and eventually falls back from there. So, yeah, not much more Corrupted could have done right there. That's just the power of a ganking Bloodhunter, especially.
Yeah, I mean, the tier 1 tower top is gone, so there's not really much other Bloodhunter can really do, and so setting up ganks bottom is so easy. Like Keeper's already level 6, he didn't even have to use the root, but he had it if he needed it. But this almost always comes back down to the jungle factor. He's playing passive, like a passive jungler like Warbeast. There's not much he can really get involved, and at the same time he had his jungle blocked, so like he's not even being that much of an issue, not that scary. Only 200 GPM, and it's looking bad for The Last of Us already, honestly.
Yeah, as unfortunate as that is, because, again, exactly what is on the line, them needing to go 2-0 to even have a chance. But, again, it is so earlier on, so keep looking at that mark. And they do have Misery here on Corrupted Disciple, 378 gold per minute, as another 1,600 gold saved up. What kind of game you expect to have out of him here as far as his item build? He's got the Steam Boots, obviously, but where does he go? Maybe the Firebrand into Geos, a straight Shrunken Head, Energizer, what do you think?
I mean, I think it depends what kind of game plan that The Last of Us are going for. I mean, they've always picked up the Warbeast already, so they have some kind of late game. I mean, they could even push that even further if they want to go like Firebrand. But if they want to start, getting active, start trying to get in team fights, then they could easily go for the Shrunken Head. Shrunken Head, very good against the team that Reason have already drafted. I mean, it only gets into the late game where physical presence for the Reason or Reason gaming side actually is relevant. But in the meantime, it's almost all magical. So Shrunken Head would be perfect. But I mean, if you go Shrunken Head first item, your farm reduces almost dramatically. So you almost need to make use of it. And this is why I was talking about the strategy that The Last of Us have. And that's why I think it's really important to sort of have items dependent on the strategy your team's going for. But I mean, we'll probably see in the next couple of minutes deciding on what item build that Corrupted Disciple is going to go.
Yep. He's got that 2,000 gold just about saved up, and obviously around the mark we're going to get somewhat of an idea depending on which item he's ultimately going for. But another important hero in Item Nation is, of course, that Warbeast, and what you guys doing solid. He's got the Hungry Spirit purchased at least, so very, very close to finishing that Abyssal Skull, and that's the very effective farming turbo. Middle lane, Bloodhunter. He's looking for some action again. As he said, the top tower's initial tower's already been killed, so he's been kind of roaming around a little bit, but right there, he does pull a creep, so not being as stealthy as he was hoping for right there. So Imboboy losing a little bit out in farm time, but, he still is the top in the game, even though no gank being set up. And actually, the Ancients going to be stolen on the Legion side right here. We got some double stack Ancients coming out, and St. Rock's actually playing the Solstice. He's going to take at least the majority of them. It is nighttime right now, so of course doesn't have that AoE farming tool. But as you're stating, still is by all means able to farm still effectively at the same time. So that's one of those double whammies right there. Not only is it a very effective farm for him, but he is taken away from the Legion team. Middle lane, here we go. The dive on a Bubbles. Bloodhunter does find his opportunity with the hemorrhage and the silence, and Imboboy gets credit for the kill, obviously. Magnus assisting, but that's another thing. Hemorrhage is one thing, but that silence, man, it's ridiculous. Even at level 1, 6-second silence.
Yeah, and like particularly against like heroes like Bubbles and Dr. Repulsor, like silence is almost like better in terms of like the slows, or even not as bad, not as good as the stun, but it does so much work, particularly on these sort of squishy intelligence heroes that rely so much on their spells. But again, like I'm not trying to like flame this wall beast, but you can see that the impact of having a passive jungler. Like you see Reason going around getting a lot of kills, and there's no way that the Last of Us can really rotate and try and make something of all these engagements come in middle lane because of this wall beast. Like he needs at least like 20 more minutes before he can really get effective into the game. And he's a strong hero, I know, and I know what you've got is a great player on the wall beast. But at the same time, the game can almost be over before it's even started for this wall beast. So it's obviously a struggle. But
no. Bottom lane, they're going to try to get some kind of action going. They want to get another kill on the board, and that's going to be Zaynid, the victim, if they are able to execute this. But that's a lot easier said than done with where things are at right now. You see Zayn, he's just hugging his tower. Bubbles is still with the flank position. But unless Zayn pushes up whatsoever, this is not going to be a successful attempt. And it's looking like that's not the case. And obviously the downside of this, too, the more he waits there, the more time he's losing out on some farm. As Rally will actually pick up a little bit in the middle lane in terms of experience at least, because he's not having the easiest time either in terms of getting those last hits. Obviously with the Magnus and Aluna being a pretty big threat with that. Magnus, he's got to be close to that portal key. Yeah, 2,080 gold saved up, so he is just about here. Solstice, speaking of being here, he's actually in the middle lane. But, well, okay, there might be something. Actually, Bubble's going to try to bait something out with the illusion right here. We'll see if Fuzzy Floss is able to accomplish anything, or if the Hellborn team is a little too intelligent with that. And, yeah, I mean, you could probably notice with those auto attacks, they're pretty weak, so that's, if anything, what they should pick up on. But he's trying. I don't think it's going to work, though. Did I just see an item by Corrupted, by the way?
Yeah,
yes.
It was Ice Brand, which I definitely disagree with. It's just that, like, the IM obviously doesn't really help you farm, and at the same time, he's not really getting involved in team fights, so the sort of tankiness that Ice Brand gives you isn't really being effective at all. And if he wants to get top lane,
they're going to go for it. He gets stunned, actually, with the TP right there. Solstice even going to ulti. Oh, the protect him out. He just a little bit too late. Would have got stopped anyways. That's Rhapsody. Gets hit by the Solstice Kamehameha, and eventually not killed, though, as they cannot chase him down. But the initial kill in the rally is obviously what mattered, and now Bloodhunter is going to hang around a little bit and feast up a little bit in the meantime. So, what was that?
Red power throw on Luna just connected with Rhapsody, but not enough HP or not enough damage in the end.
Really
if Luna was level 7, that would actually been the kill on Rhapsody.
Yeah.
Whoopies might be in trouble as well, actually.
Yeah, Magnus is looking. Oh, he says, screw it, I'm going right for Bubbles. The silence comes out as we were talking about. Warby's in ulti form, trying to assist right here. Not nearly enough, though. Adra actually snipes him out with that power throw. No red power throw needed in that case. So, again, the dive and just the attempts and the kill potential is obviously there for Reason Gaming.
And also, like, you just see Warby trying to get involved, but you see how little he does. Like, he auto-attacks, and, like, the Reason are just almost shrugging it off as if it's nothing, because Warby goes in, ulties, and then does almost nothing. Like, he auto-attacks, but auto-attacks for, like, 100 damage, which is just, honestly, nothing. And that's why they can keep going in top lane, and they're going in again.
They're going to try it one more time, and probably won't be the last either. Obviously, Rally, again, is going to be fine, as Solstice actually got stunned right before he connected. That was a good job by Rhapsody right there, being played by Narcy, coming in with the staccato stuns. But to say the least, they are not afraid to dive these towers, as we are seeing time and time again. And, you know, a 4-to-1 hero kill lead, it feels like it could be like 10 to 1 at this point.
Yeah, and Reason Gaming shouldn't be afraid to dive because there's no way that the Last of Us can really punish them. The only really punisher could maybe be the bubbles or the rally, but even when they go in, like, they don't have enough follow-up. You see Corrupted just sitting down bottom, not really getting involved, and Warbeast might be getting involved, but he offers nothing to the team fights anyway. So Reason can play a lot more greedy and a lot more aggressive and not be punished for it as a result. You see even just the way that they're sort of farming up. Before they were farming up right next to like a tier 2, which you wouldn't really normally see in a normal game, but the way that the Last of Us was drafted, there's no way they can really punish the Reason Gaming, and also it's the same, they can dive and get a lot of more aggression just because of the way the Last of Us are sort of drafted.
So we're approaching that 15-minute mark here, and obviously the Last of Us, again, I keep going back to, it's like it's not over by any means, but yes, their chances, and I don't want to harp on it necessarily, but Ice Brand, man, I mean, this item itself, especially as purchased by itself, has been argued as one of the most least efficient and worst item choices that you could possibly do in cases like this. And, I think it's safe to say it's really no different here. It's kind of that mix of, like, it kind of bulks him up, but not like a Shrunken Head would, but at the same time, it's kind of assists with farming, but not like a Firebrand would have at the same time. So it's
like worst of the two possibilities, pretty much. I mean, like, there's always, like, potentially, quote-unquote, bottom line, they're using Root, actually, on Corrupted Disciple.
Yeah, we'll see. Is he bulky enough right here? No, he's not. The stun comes out. Here comes a follow-up. Silence is applied. It increases his damage, but, like, they could care less right there. The hemorrhage obviously also coming out, and as he was walking away, that's one of those cases. He didn't really have a choice. He stopped walking. They would have killed him anyway, so might as well go for it. Yeah, it wasn't the case, though, so Misery goes down, and well, the shining star for the Legion team, he gets picked off right there, and that's obviously got to be pretty depressing for them in this game here.
Yeah, and it looks like the Last of Us are going to try and make almost a last-ditch effort to go mid, but this is not going to work out if Reason Gaming are on the ball. Actually, Soz is charging ulti.
Oh boy, Kamehameha. All right, there in comes a beautiful Magnus stun. Not enough follow-up, though, just yet. Magnus, actually, well, Blood Hunter does come in finally, and now putting in the auto attack, trying to finish off Bubbles. The Kelfield stun, though, comes out last second. Doesn't matter. Illuminati, as I call it, well, picks him off in the end, and now Rhapsody does get picked off by Imba right there. The charge coming out from Solstice. He is back to Day Farm, of course. Rally with his ultimate chance, not even going off. He gets picked off, and I think it's now getting to that point of, well, Reason Gaming, not only do they have a very good lead, but it's one of those, I don't know if we're going to have any comeback chance at this point for The Last of Us with the way this game's going here.
Yeah, and actually that was probably one of the best chances that Last of Us could have had. I mean, that was almost the worst team fight I've ever seen from Reason Gaming. It was so sloppy. Magnus ulti completely not used, and at the same time they went in a 3v5 against The Last of Us and still ended up with 4 kills. So if there was anything, any kind of hope for The Last of Us, that was it. But it still just shows like that it's just not enough for them to really get back into this game.
Now, I just saw Blood Hunter. He actually just bought a Sword of the High, obviously towards a Mockery Brilliance. This is usually more your TMM style of build on a Blood Hunter. And in the past, I mean, Imba he plays this hero a bit. He usually goes for even that full Dawnbringer as his first item. But I think it's safe to say with the way this game is going, he can risk, you could almost suggest, going this kind of build. I mean, he's already farming 475 gold from it. His team is in a very good spot. So not a bad item choice, obviously. But it's one of those, it's a little bit more of a risk. But at the same time, if you are having a snowball like you are, it's probably, you could argue, more efficient than the others.
Yeah, and it's like the problem with obviously going Mockery Brilliance, it's almost, its build up is like terrible. The build up obviously cost is terrible.
Yeah.
But if you're farming this well, then the build up cost doesn't really matter because you're going to be ending up getting it so quickly anyway. And it does so much work, honestly, particularly on Blood Hunter, because the Radiance effect or the Radiance slot is almost always on the heroes because of how fast Blood Hunter is. So it's always in chase mode, and also stops any PKs that eventually might come out for Rally and Bubbles as well. So a good pickup for Blood Hunter.
Mm-hmm. We see Magma's going to bottle up a Hastian right here. He is level 11 as well, so has that level 2 Eruption, actually currently on a 10-second cooldown right here, but he's going to go into the jungle. You see Warbeast has a Hellhound, may deactivate the portal key, maybe not. It might not even matter in the end, Magmas. He's kind of just scouting it out, really. Not planning to go for a kill. He doesn't really have his teammates nearby, necessarily. Granted, Keeper of the Force is kind of there and also does have a portal key himself. So, again, that aggressive nature, that aggressive play style continuing to come out here from the Hellborn team, and understandably so. Now, I will say Misery playing the Corrupted Disciple. He does go Frostburn, or he is going to be going Frostburn at least. He obviously has the Quick Blades here, working towards that Firebrand and thus making the Frostburn, obviously. So, in that sense, it's coming together, and eventually the Dawnbringer is actually, there you go. he does get the Frostburn finished in full, but it just continues to go back to, is that going to be enough here? Mock of Brilliance just finished by Imba Boy in the meantime. So, I mean, I think the answer is obvious here, but just to get your take on it, Reason Gaming, especially now with that pickup, probably just keep the aggression up here.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. There's no need to really sit back. I mean, they could almost wait another like 10 minutes, and still this Warbeast wouldn't be offering much. I mean, he needs a stronger head before he can almost do anything. And this is the problem with honestly Warbeast, is that he takes so long to really get involved and really to get online. We talked about how Wildstar is almost similar, and it's the same with Warbeast. Honestly, it's just like if you put him in the jungle, and if you put him in the suicide lane, it's at least you're offering something to your team with Battlecry. But obviously, he maxed the Primal Rage. It's probably the right thing to do if you're going jungle. But at the same time, the team's almost playing 4v5, and you might get picking off here as well.
Yep, Warbeast doesn't even have ultiform. He does. He can't even get it off. He finally gets it off. There comes a root, though, as I was talking about at the selection screen. Easily locks him down and gets the kill. Eruption doing a lot of the damage there in the end. Probus getting credit. Understandably so. So he's dead. He saw the team support kind of nearby, but with him dead especially, they were not going to commit to a fight right there. Even with the root being down, just not comfortable. There are still other big ultimates, including that, as it's called, Breath of Soul, or as I like to refer to the Dragon Ball Z reference, the Kamehameha for Solstice. But they're just going to stay at this top lane. Soul's Bork is up on him. Just keep pushing it here, looks like. Keep the force, no root, but hey, he's still up here, and he's got that Nature's Veil to apply, and as well as, of course, the creep push. And that's an easy tower kill. In fact, Hemorrhage on to Rhapsody right here. She's going to accept death. Not much a support can do in that case, especially if she gets caught by the Hemorrhage. So, insta-kill is basically what happens there. And then they make their way to the middle lane. So, yeah, Blood Hunter, I mean, that Mock of Brilliance. You see his auto-attack damage is 210 right now. And we're also at a point, too, he can start applying that level 3 silence currently, maybe level 4 soon, to himself, actually.
Yeah, definitely.
To buff his own damage.
Yeah, he'd be like, if he gets level 4 as well, it'll be 80% more base damage as a buff as well, which is going to be making him hit like an insane man, pretty much. Like, there's just the Last of Us is just, there's not much that are really like doing. Like all the farm they've got on Corrupted Disciple, and he's gone ahead and just gone like for a Frostburn, which just doesn't really offer anything. With the farm he's got against the Reason Gaming team, I mean, they're hitting all the cylinders right now. Like Blood Hunter completely farmed, and now they're going to take Congra as well. And most likely going to put the nail in the coffin.
That's what they're going for. Again, it's understandable. The Last of Us, not only is this game here very, very not looking good for them. Losing my dictionary right there, but not looking good for them. But on top of that, again, it's understandable why they're sticking in, because simply put, they lose this game, the playoffs hopes are gone. Their playoff hopes are gone, and they will be eliminated from the playoffs for the Carnage and Caldor Pro League. And then you may say to yourself, well, then why even play the second game? Well, they will be playing the second game, or at least that's the idea, if that happens, but they would be playing a kind of spoil Reason Gaming seeding in the playoffs. But Magnus in the meantime in the middle lane, he gets gone on. Port is coming in though. The seismic slime goes up, but it's still not enough for the kill. And here comes the turret chance. In comes Solstice. Nice Rhapsody ultimate, but it gets stopped immediately. She falls as well. The root comes out. Corrupted Disciple, he's trying to take the damage. He's just on the run completely. Magnus comes in with the eruption, and that will help finish him off. GG's being called. That's going to do it. Game number 1 goes to Reason Gaming, and once again, as I was just explaining right there, not only does that knock out The Last of Us of the playoffs, but it gets Reason Gaming in, but they should play on, because if Reason does go 2-0 now, that means they'll get 3rd place over Willowkeeper as far as positioning is concerned. But if The Last of Us forces a Game 3 or even wins the series still, then Reason Gaming would finish 4th place. But that is where things stand now with that victory. But Reason Gaming, I think it's safe to say, very deserving of that win right there.
Yeah, and I think actually if they can get 3rd place, that'd be a massive deal, honestly, because BMG probably the definite favourites, and if they can get 3rd place, they'll be most likely playing Zinc, if I'm correct. Yeah?
No. Okay, so
oh?
to clarify that whole situation, yeah. So again, it's been a very confusing, understandably so. There's kind of things all over the place. Obviously, with the very unfortunate news once again of last weekend, Fuzi's death, that things got canceled, they got postponed and everything. Because of that, a lot of had to be kind of reworked. BMG, all their matches were canceled, the rest of theirs, and as a result of the standings and whatnot, BMG was just automatically given 2nd place in the end, and CiC was actually given 1st place in the end. The teams were talking and everything. They were just fine with it. They agreed on that. It's understandable that would be the case. I mean, you can't sit here and say like that wouldn't be the case, like 1 or 2 for them either way. So they get 1 or 2. So again, BMG will be 2nd. So that would mean Reason Gaming. So 3rd place plays BMG, and then of course 4th place would play CiC Esports. Is how that lines up. So And then again, to clarify that even further, BMG, I believe I've been told that they're using Zibe as a current ringer as their 5th for now, to finish off these playoffs at least, and obviously we'll see where it goes from there. Concerning that situation, so yeah, that's just to quickly clarify again as far as what's going on there. I know there's a lot of not really knowing, and the information, it is on Hontour.com. It tries to explain it, but understandable if you haven't seen it yet. So there you go. Anyways, anything else to add though for this match here?
No, I think it just honestly comes down to just the superior draft coming out from Reason. They just had all the lanes perfectly right, and I think the Warbeast jungle was just really out of the meta, and it just showed in this game.